a pioneer, as Xiao likes to call us. I think because well, one of the things I brought to the Brightspace was a lot of quizzes and a lot of automation to the classes. And so I had a lot done in Blackboard. And so I think my course was a great test to see how that came over onto Brightspace. And so I will now share with you my screen. And I will just also go back a step from where Kristen started, just to show you what it looks like. We will have the Hunter branding. That will depend a little bit, but we'll have the Hunter branding up here and your courses will be down here. Hopefully some of you have took a sneak peek into your course to take a look at it. So I have my course here. And the reason why, and it starts inactive, just like it did at Blackboard with us, so you have to make it active. This is a development course, which means to my department that we have several sections of stats for psychology. And I've created an OER book, actually with ACERT and the Help with Online Center. And so this is a shell I've created that's going to be copied into many other shells. So we typically will have anywhere from 3 to 8 courses of this running all at times. And so teachers will take my shell and dump it into theirs as a base. So going in, I'm just going into the book for the first time. So we have the textbook. I'm going to be going over into my response questions. These are the online questions that are automatically graded, just like we had in Blackboard, now in Brightspace. I have not uploaded particular pictures. Actually, I should state here, I do think pictures, they call these tiles. I think the individual pictures are helpful for students to identify your course. So I think this is a great way to start. So once in the book, I have not created pictures here because, again, this is a shell for many teachers. So I want them to kind of do their own thing. I'm going to promote especially new teachers to, personalize it. But I could put pictures in for each of these. And then just to go over, I'm going to go first into the textbook and show you what I've done in the textbook, and then into the automatic questions, which I call response questions. So going into the textbook, first I'll show you what Kristen was explaining at first. We've got this like a table of contents here, right? Going down. And in my book, I have 16 chapters. And then a few extra, this is stats. So I have the tables, there's response questions, the class materials, and the support down there. So you can see the layout. General, you can see, as Kristen was also pointing out, in each one, the number refers to how many things are in that folder. So, for example, there's 2 items in the book forward and the credits. So, and I'll take you through that. So we can go into one chapter to see what it looks like. Oh, sorry. So we have this table of contents here, but we also have that layout here. And just like in Blackboard, we have the arrows, which we can put down. So now you can see, for example, we have 2 items in that book forward. I have 2 items here. So students and you will be able to see this and know how much is in what folders. And you can get an idea of that. So yeah, this is just the OER credits. So let's go into a chapter to show you the layout of each chapter. So just clicking into a chapter, I've got the book itself of each section, so 1.1 to 1.9 here. So that's for equivalent to the sub-chapters within a chapter. I have the key terms. I have their homework. I have solutions to half the questions, so they can see examples of solutions. I have then embedded the videos and review games, which also Xiao really, really helped me with creating all these games. So each chapter is laid out the exact same. So for example, if I go to chapter 3, it's exactly the same. We have the book, we have the key terms, we have the homework, solutions, videos, and my games. So every chapter is laid out the same way. Shao had asked me to just show you the difference, right? Of here we are back in Blackboard. And so I don't find that the organizational difference, I transitioned very easily into Brightspace. It's it's a little bit different, but going from the old Blackboard chapters, right, and having just this on the side and then going to Brightspace, I found it very intuitive to go back and forth. And you do have the breadcrumbs as what they call, right? I don't have any breadcrumbs at the moment. I will in a second, but you can either click here on the, of course, the hot links, the tab on the side or on top. You've got 3 ways to navigate through your courses. Okay, so another thing I wanted to point out, and thank you, Julie, so much for this, that I was a little bit sad about the small icons that were being presented in Brightspace. So you can go ahead and emoji in your own icons, which I think is going to be really helpful for students. So while this is a web page, I wanted to let them know this was the book chapter, book, 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 and then going down, then the key terms, I threw a key in for this, the chapter homework, and then the review questions at the end, or the solutions. And again, I made it was very easy to copy and paste these icons in. And I think it's going to be helpful for students to be able to navigate and see those pictures rather than just the small black and white. I was hoping a little bit of color would help them navigate. And again, every chapter is the same. All right. The next thing I wanted to show is what they really brought me in here for, the question banks. So I teach a lot of very large courses, Psych 100 up to 500 students, stats up to 200 students. So one of my problems with teaching this course is, of course, the reliance on just large tests. We have so many students, we can't be hand grading papers. So I really wanted to get questions to the students, not only to try to bump up their grades, but as a great review. So the response, so I created, not only do I have homework questions, and these are graded actually by hand by our tutors, but I also created a question bank, again, that's automatically graded by Brightspace. And once again, if anybody's ever done this in Blackboard and created those questions, it's very similar layout to Brightspace. I was going to suggest another great reason to have questions online. Again, great review, great way to bump up the grade. Just then, just relying also for my intro class to Intro to Psychology, a lot of those students don't know how to crack open a book yet. So I would make it the questions so they could take them over and over and over and over, get 100 on it, so bump up their grade, as well as say, hey, if you don't know the answer, why don't you open up the book and try to take a look inside and see if you can find the answer. Go ahead. I'm allowing you to look at the book and find the answer. So I was just trying to encourage them to be better students or learning how to be a student. So I have response questions. With the help of my colleagues, I created 1,500 questions of my own material for this OER. That was another project, right? And so for each chapter, I have about 10 questions. And so you can go in and see, so each of these 10 questions have a pool. This is when Shao thought I was really nuts, hanging off the ledge, because, okay, so each chapter has 10 questions, and within each of those, there's 1 to 5 questions. So I wanted students to be able to not cheat from each other. Oh, another reason for doing this, sorry, for knowing how to make these online questions, if you have an online course and you need to do online tests, right? This is how you would do it as well. This is the same idea. So I wanted students not to cheat off each other. So these question pools. So for example, question 1 has a pool of, say, 1 to 5 questions. So every time the student, and if you do it for review, every time the student would go in, they would get a new bank of questions. So no matter how many times they took it, hopefully they would see new questions. And again, if they were taking it side by side, they couldn't cheat because they were getting a random pool of questions. you can see, I won't go through all of this. This could be another ACERT for sure. All of the different functions, right? Date and time, how to display, how many attempts. This is very similar to Blackboard, and even maybe a little bit better. Evaluation and feedback. So you have all of those controls for each quiz, right? So also just to show you, very similar to Blackboard, what are the types of questions we can make? Here are all your types of questions. So from multiple choice all the way to multiple short answer. I will say it takes me a little bit of learning curve, a few minutes to figure out what each one is doing. It's not, most of them are incredibly intuitive, like true, false. But some of them take a little bit of time to figure out. And I think the team has helped me very much with that. I am fighting to even get more choices of different kinds of questions that we can create. But these, I very much use all of these because I'm trying to engage the students. I'm trying to make it a little bit more fun and exciting. So I've used all of these different types. And even arithmetic, you can create a math question and you can use random numbers. So no question's ever the same, if that makes sense. I'll say that. So if I do an arithmetic question, I can put a randomization function in. So no math question will ever look the same taken by any student. So it's pretty powerful, pretty great. And again, we have, just to show you what the quiz looks like on the student side. So you can put instructions on here, the attempts taken, how much time, right? This is notes to the student of what they were allowed. And then you can start the quiz. And then it will show you the students how many questions there are and what's completed so far. And you can put the answers here, and go, and it will bring you to the next one and so on. And it will tell you when you're completed with that question. This is the student side. So very easy. You could do one at a time. You can do several at a time. That's your choice. And telling you how many you have here. This is all great. The question library, this is very similar. If anybody's done this in Blackboard, you create the questions in the library and you pull them into the quiz. So you don't create them in this section, but you create them in your library and then you pull them into each quiz. So that meaning you can use them as many times as you want into each quiz. You can really change each quiz. So again, like Blackboard, you have a library and then you make the quizzes out of the library. I think, the beautiful thing when the book transferred, you can see this is somewhat complicated. I think about 90% of the book transferred over beautifully from Blackboard to Brightspace. There were a few issues. What did come over, the main text came over beautifully. I had no changes. Most of my response questions, about 90% came over. Thank goodness, because I didn't want to do all 1,500 questions over again. I've had to tweak a little bit. I've also had some new functions like linking the question back to the textbook. So if a student has a problem, I put a hot link there. It brings them right back to the textbook to where they need to learn. A few questions didn't transfer over. Some of my equations didn't come over, so I'm having to tweak those a little bit. So if you have equations, and also a few of my pictures got lost, but I just, thankfully I saved all my pictures in folders and I just were able to upload my pictures again. And I think that's it. And I think, but for 90, I'm just so pleased that 90% of my book came over. Very happy about that. Thank you. And with the help of, the team is amazing. Thank you for everybody for being such a help.